24 armed personnel touched down in Port-au-Prince yesterday, and that includes 20 Jamaican Defense Forces as well as 4 police officers from Jamaica. Coincidentally, this also happened at a time when a region in Jamaica declared a state of emergency over gang-related activities. Well, Jamaica has finally deployed in Haiti. Jamaica is part of the CARICOM countries, that is the Caribbean Community countries, and has been the first CARICOM country to deploy in Haiti. 24 armed personnel touched down in Port-au-Prince yesterday, and that includes 20 Jamaican Defense Forces as well as 4 police officers from Jamaica. The deputy of the MSS forces is going to come from Jamaica, and that is Colonel Kevron Henry, who is going to deputize Godfrey Otunge, who is the Kenyan leading the MSS forces. Currently, Kenya has deployed 400 armed personnel in Haiti. That is the 400 police officers from Kenya who are in Haiti, as well as Kenya promised to deploy 1,000. So 600 more Kenyans are still in Kenya waiting to deploy to Haiti. So the deployment of Jamaica has tipped the scale and now has made the MSS mission to be an international mission. Right now, it is not only Kenya that is in Haiti, but Jamaica is also part of the mission, and that now brings up the international aspect of the MSS forces. It is not only now a Kenyan thing, but now it is a Kenyan and Jamaican and possibly a CARICOM and international mission. We know that other countries that have promised to deploy include Benin, Bangladesh, Bahamas, Barbados, and other countries like Chad that have committed to deploy to a number of 2,500 personnel. Jamaica itself promised to deploy 200 armed personnel. That is 170 Jamaican Defense Forces and 30 police officers from Jamaica. So a number of 200 from Jamaica, and other countries are going to build up on that number. The first contingent from Jamaica that has gotten to Port-au-Prince is the advanced team. That is just akin to what Kenya did, because Kenya is supposed to deploy 1,000 but has deployed 400 so far. These are advanced teams that are going there to secure critical infrastructure and to prepare the way for the full deployment of other forces from this country. So the 24 Jamaican police officers, basically, we don't expect them to do much because there are only a few number, that is 24. Even the 400 Kenyan police officers do not have that kind of force that can go and tackle the gangs head on, because if you look at the previous deployments, that is the UN deployment that was in Haiti, it included thousands of armed personnel who would try to counter the gangs. But a number of 400, a number of 24 is not quite able to do everything that is needed as effective as a larger number of personnel that will be deployed in Haiti. So currently, that is the statistics that Jamaica will now present the deputy of MSS, the deputy commander of MSS, and that will be Colonel Kevron Henry, as well as Jamaica has now set foot in Haiti and will continue to work with the Kenyans to ensure that Haiti get back to normalcy. Mind you, Jamaica was trained by Canada, and Canada is training other forces from the CARICOM community to join the forces in Haiti to restore peace in the nation of Haiti. The opposition leader in Jamaica released a statement after the deployment of 24 armed personnel in Haiti, and said that
the initiative has to be on a much larger scale to really have any chance of success in Haiti.
This coincidentally, just as it happened in Kenya, coincidentally this also happened at a time when a region in Jamaica declared a state of emergency over gang-related activities, increase in gun violence in Clarendon region in Jamaica. So if you remember months ago when Kenya was deploying, it was the time when Kenya had a lot of chaos in the country, a lot of confusion, because they deployed the exact date when the movement, the Kenya Gen Z movement was happening, and they stormed the parliament building. So it is just the same situation, but in a different scale, of course. Jamaica is not that larger of a scale of what is happening in Clarendon, but a state of emergency in relation to gang violence happened in Clarendon, and the state had to declare that state of emergency at the same time when Jamaicans were landing in Port-au-Prince to go and restore order from gang violence in Port-au-Prince. It is also important to know that Jamaica is an English-speaking country, and an English-speaking country is going to a French-speaking country to restore peace and order. Well, Kenyans are also English-speaking, and that has been a cause of concern to many because Haitians don't speak English, they speak French Creole, and that is bound to be a challenge when they're trying to execute their missions to the nationals and trying to restore order. But that has been taken care of through these trainings and missions before they deploy. Kenyans have undergone through basic French to be able to understand what the Haitians counterparts are saying, to be able also to understand what the Haitian nationals are saying when they are on the ground to maintain peace and law and order. Jamaicans also have undergone this training to better understand what their counterparts in Haiti, their counterparts in the places where they're going to keep and maintain peace are going to do. So just for clarity, the 24 armed personnel, that is the 20 Jamaican Defense Forces and the 4 police officers from Jamaica, are going there to facilitate the deployment of the rest of the 176 police and Jamaican Defense Forces that are going to deploy in Haiti. This is in a bid to make sure that the deployment is seamless and successful. As well as it is important to note that there is a renewal of time. The discussion of a renewal of time in the mission has kick-started in the UNSC at New York because this mission started last year in October and is supposed to run for 1 year. So that means that by next month, as per stipulated in that document, the UNSC stipulation of the time limit of this mission, the mission is supposed to end next month. But of course, Kenyans have only been there for about 2.5 months so far. Jamaicans are only getting in. Many other countries have yet to deploy their own personnel in Haiti. So that means that there is a need for an extension of time, and that discussion has already started in New York, diplomatic exchanges, of course, to try as much as possible to extend the time that these forces are going to be there, possibly till next year, October, so that they can actualize what they went to do in Haiti. And of course, we're going to hear responses from the gangs and the gang leaders regarding the deployment of now other international actors in Haiti, because when the Kenyans went to Haiti, Barbecue was very, very bold to come out and say that Kenyans were not invited in Haiti and that they will treat them as enemies should they find them in their streets. So we expect that the gangs and the gang leaders will come out as well to give their condemnation of the deployment of neighboring countries, because now the CARICOM community has taken a resolve, and that is a very bold move from the CARICOM community. And as the Jamaican Defense Forces released a statement saying that the CARICOM community is taking a step to ensure that the violence in Haiti doesn't spill to other countries, and that is what they're specifically aimed to do. So we are going to hear statements, we're going to hear reactions also from the gangs and the gang leaders to oppose the deployment of other neighboring countries in Haiti, because they are going after them, and that means that they're going to disrupt a lot of activities that is ongoing in Haiti. So far, we've not had a very fierce fight between the gangs and the MSS forces, because as I explained before, they are not specifically going for hard offensive because of the small numbers, and as well these small numbers are judged by the amount of funding that has been released from US and Canada to fund them to go to the full extent. They need the entire 2,500 police officers so that they can be effective to go and tackle or attack or create an offensive against these gangs that are in Haiti.